Maine Knows How. Brought to you by A&G Shooting, Modern Woodmen of America, Mainly Handrails, Pine Grove Programs, Digital Spirit Media, and J.W. Parks Golf Course. Maine Knows How.
So, Bob, Wyatt, what's going on with the program and the lodge in February?
February is everybody in the whole world in North America wants snowshoes. We can no way make enough of them. I cannot get enough ash. I wish I could.
Ash.
Ash.
A-S-H.
Exactly right.
A type of wood.
Right. You know, a lot of people depend on this product
Yep.
to make their living. We have people tying them. We have veterans tying them, and some women that need a job, and they have kids, and they can't go out because they pay it all for daycare, so they do it at home. And so it's been a struggling year to make snowshoes. Anyway, we are making a few pair, but not as many as we'd like.
And the way that they can inquire about that is the name of the business?
Yeah, it's Maine Guide Snowshoes and Furniture.
Very good.
Yep, you can go on there. And right now, we're not taking orders. We're not taking any money. You can order a pair, and when they're ready, we'll call you and tell you, because I don't know how long they'll be.
Right.
It's just according to how much ash I can get to make the shoe out of.
Right.
See? And it has to be the right ash.
Right.
Yep.
Now, you've been on the road.
I have. I've been to Vermont, Essex Junction, did the Yankee Classic.
Which is?
A sportsman show. And we went there with 4 booths. And it was very successful. There's a lot of seminars there on rabbit hunting, coyote hunting, and the program. They have a big following in Vermont. There's a lot of military people there. And Wyatt was there with his square tails rod making, and he had a shooting booth there as well. So it was a very good show, and John puts it on, and he does a really good job, and we enjoy going there.
Yeah. Wyatt, tell us about the square tail rods.
Yeah, so we do custom rods. So I was there at the show exhibiting some of the rods I've built and some of my options. And I do all kinds of rods. I do like fly rods and trolling rods, every kind of thing.
All different weights. And...
Yep, anything you'd like, really. Really, anyone. If you have an idea of what you want, you can come to me, and we'll choose the blank, and then we'll choose all your options, and I'll build it for you.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Tim, they make some neat stuff now. He takes my hand like this,
yeah,
and molds it, and makes your grip right into the handle.
So these are customized rods. They're
Yeah.
just not custom to the design or colors.
No, they're made to your
blank.
hand. I actually make a foam mold of your hand holding onto the rod, and then I use that in the dimensions of your hand to then turn the handle down to your size.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. It's as custom as you can make it.
As custom as it can be. And only at square tail.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's great. So there's some hunting going on in February.
Yeah, we're still
Rabbits are running.
The rabbits are running. What can you tell us about that?
Well, they've been going pretty good, and the dogs are
they're holding up.
Holding up. Yeah, we take care of our dogs, and they treat us well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they've been holding up pretty good, and coyote baits have been doing okay. And Dad, you have anything else?
I do. Yeah. These coyote baits are starting to turn on pretty decent right now. It's before March, and we've had a lot of interest from people from all over the country that want to come. Can you imagine? They want to drive from West Virginia or North Carolina to come coyote hunting.
Well, we were talking earlier today. We had some lunch right before shooting this, and coyote you can hunt at night, which is kind of unusual.
It is, and it's takes a little bit to make the transition over to hunting at night. And
I've heard thermals make the difference.
It does, and thermals make good. The lights make it easier. They make red lights it doesn't cost as much as buying a thermal or buying a ATM scope, which is another type of night
Right.
scope. It's a day-night scope. They cost, $900, $800, and not everybody wants to invest that. But if I have guys that come and they haven't got that equipment, I have stuff here that they can use that I purchased, and it gives them a chance to hunt at night.
Again, if there are veterans, first responders, or law enforcement officers that are interested in the coyote or the rabbit hunting, please send us an email at maineknowshow@gmail.com, and we can give you more information on how to set you up with that. But it is a very unusual routine with hunting at night.
It is.
Which is such a different beast.
It is. Because you're in a shack, and you can hear the owls, you can hear the coyotes there calling and barking and carrying on all the time. So it's quite exciting.
Well, most people only hear coyotes,
Yeah.
but to see one
Yeah.
is unusual. So Wyatt, we just completed the fishing derby on Wyman Lake. How did that go?
Yeah, it went great. We had a good turnout. We had a lot of great people, caught a lot of good fish. We gave out a lot of good prizes, and it was really great to see the whole community there.
Yeah,
it was really great just about the whole town showed up, so it was really good. It was really a lot
the
of fun.
community really looks forward to this each year.
Yeah, and the meeting down at the Bingham General Store, that was good too.
Right, and that's a first.
Yeah, it was
the
the
first time
first.
we've done that. So it's actually good to be there near a store so folks can get something to eat as they're weighing in.
Yeah, exactly.
Stuff like that. That's great.
Yeah, it really went well. But we're doing another one at your place, right?
That's right. Yeah. So towards the end of February, we'll be hosting a ice fishing opportunity at my place on Messalonsky Lake, and we'll provide a soup lunch and a lot of good time. We go out there. The pike run pretty good, and while the trout and the splake tend to fade off a little bit, we have to find the deep water for that. It's still a lot of fun, and it's great to get out into the sun.
Yeah,
towards the end of February.
Yeah, I mean by the end of February, you're ready to get out of the house.
Ready to die for any piece of sun I can get. Guys, it's been a few weeks since we last spoke. I mean, any great adventures up at the plantation here?
Yeah, it's been okay. We've had a few storms, and we've been baiting and plowing roads, and seems like I get stuck every now and then. Slid off the road one place, and luckily Wyatt was home and called him up, told me out. And 3 days later, I got stuck again. And
we have a 3-photo rule. If you need help, we get 3 photos before we help you.
Oh,
yeah. So.
To preserve the humiliation.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not like plowing your driveway. I'm plowing the woods.
Right.
Yeah. And it's rough on equipment. The plows have been at the shop now for 3 days because I beat the heck out of it and broke the bolts and broke the A-frame.
And you're plowing access to the baits.
Right, logging roads.
Logging roads.
Yeah, and it's full of rocks and hills. And
do you wear a kidney belt when you do that?
Wear something. I don't know what. But, geez, I'm cruddy. So it's rough on equipment.
Right.
But it's the only way I can get people in there.
Right.
I have hired David Robinson, which is a sponsor of the program. He owns Robinson Trucking, but he's also our head canoe guide that does the Allagash canoe trip.
In June timeframe, May, June.
Yep. And, geez, I'm cruddy. The snow gets so deep, sometimes I'll have to have him come with a front end loader and push the banks back, because I can only push it back so far, and it all falls in behind you. So I said, David, can you go clean out this road? And he'll come with a front end loader and push it all back. And I'll be all set for another month. So it's not easy.
No, and what's very interesting is I live about an hour away on back roads, and it's about 2 different climates between my house and here. We have 6 or 8 inches of snow, but as we come up towards Bingham and then up the mountain to your place, it's like going to Sugarloaf.
Right.
It's you just have so much more snow. we've been getting finished with a lot of freezing rain
Right.
at the end of storms, but for you, it's all
No.
it's all cold, and it's a cold day today too.
It is.
Mhm.
And I have to go and ride these rabbit covers with the snowmobile to pack them down. So if I don't pack them down, then I can't tow in all those guys to go rabbit hunting. So I have to go put some tracks down so it hardens up so the sled will go on top of it so it ain't so hard. So it's not like you can just go to this cover, because you might have to snowmobile 7, 8, 10 miles back in the woods. So that all takes place 3 or 4 or 5 days ahead of time. So there's always stuff to do.
Now, as far as the rabbit are concerned, I mean, Wyatt has mentioned earlier that you're very careful not to overhunt a particular cover or whatever.
Mhm.
But as you've told me before, these rabbits have a way of reproducing.
They do. They have little ones every 33 days. And a rabbit is pregnant and bred for her next breeding. Her next time she has little ones way ahead. And
So she's got two
two
different
going.
going at any given time.
But she has to live a year before she can breed. And everybody in the woods is trying to eat these guys. They are McDonald's of the woods. Oh, it's tough. It's tough to be a rabbit.
So the fox.
A fox.
How about Fisher?
Fisher.
Yeah.
Fisher will go after him. Raccoon,
Pine marten.
pine marten,
Ermines.
Hawks. Owls.
ermines.
Ermines.
Yes.
Ermine will hunt one down like you can't believe.
Yeah.
Ermine's like a hound dog. It's unbelievable.
Well, I don't know if I ever told you, but I had an ermine story.
Mhm.
For those of you that don't know, an ermine is really a weasel in the winter that's turned white.
Right.
So I came back from a weekend at the National Guard, and it was just a pouring down kind of December, rainy, freezing rain type of thing, and had the wood stove going, and we had the big pile of wood. And I'm falling asleep, and I have my son in my arm like this, and Notre Dame or some college game was going on in the background, and I opened my eye, and at the top of the wood pile, an ermine sticks his head up like this,
Yep.
and he's looking all around,
Mhm.
and I'm shocked. I mean, this is in my house,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and I grabbed my son and said, "Tim, don't move." But look, there's a white weasel over there. I didn't even know what an ermine was.
Right.
So I slowly, and this is back in the day when you had a 35 millimeter Minolta
Yeah.
camera. I reach over and I get it, and I turn it with a wide angle. I start clicking pictures,
Mhm.
and just to prove that it was there. After 5 minutes, I'm standing up. I'm walking up to it, and this thing is giving me pictures this far away. And the thing is, he knew we were there,
Right.
and he knew our voices.
Yeah.
That night, my wife wakes up. We're sleeping upstairs, and she wakes up and she gives me the elbow because that same ermine was hitting the flashing lights on our clock next to our bed.
Wow.
So I'm like, oh my gosh. I jump out of bed. This thing jumps up, takes off into my son's bedroom, and goes up underneath his mattress. And I go in there and I grab him. Now he's a 13-year-old kid. It's 2:00 in the morning. And
That's
I
fun.
grab him and throw him out of the bed because I didn't know if this thing was going up to bite him or anything.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Dad, I haven't done anything." We
That's
finally
good
got
deal.
it in a have a heart and took
did.
it down to the animal control officer.
Mm-hmm.
And he said he had a special spot for them just to make sure they don't come back.
All right.
There's a hole in the backyard.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good
You know,
one.
anyway,
If you have-
Good story.
If you have mice in your house,
they take care of that.
quick.
Very
Couple
quick.
days, you'll be mice free.
That's right.
Yeah.
So Mother Nature knows what she's doing.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
If you ever seen one hunt a mouse, you wouldn't even believe it.
Really.
They're like incredible how they'll follow where that mouse has been.
Well, it's funny because they can get through a hole like that.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
easy. And they're death on chickens.
And chickens.
Oh yeah, we like chickens.
Well, we'll bring more hair-raising stories to you in a few minutes. Thanks for joining us.
Maine Knows How is brought to you by Modern Woodmen of America, a member-owned fraternal financial services organization since 1883.
Welcome back to Maine Knows How. Again, please send us your questions at maineknowshow@gmail.com. Today's guest is Paul Violette. He's the outreach coordinator from Pine Grove Programs. And the last name Violette in Maine can be said several different ways. It's Violet, Violette, and I've heard even other pronunciations. Violette. And sometimes it's 2 L's and 2 T's, 1 L and 2 T's, 2 L's and 1 T. So which is yours?
Yeah, mine is Violette. And actually, we're all descended from Francois Violette, who settled in Van Buren in the mid-1700s.
2 L's, 2 T's?
1 L, 2 T's. So all the spelling, L-E-T-T-E, we're all related. And there's over 3,000 of us in the state of Maine, so it's pretty common.
So we could identify you all if we had to.
That's correct.
Well, Paul, I want to kind of hand it off to you, and if you could just tell folks, what your background with the program is and how you got introduced.
Okay, well, first of all, we are very blessed in the state of Maine. We have a lot of programs that support veterans. Each of them has a unique focus. Some focus only on disabled vets. Pine Grove Programs is unique in that they do active duty military, veterans, Gold Star family members, and first responders, to include law enforcement officers, firemen, and EMTs. Back in 2016, I had gone on my first turkey hunt ever with a different program. And I got teamed up with a veteran, Dave Rogers, and Dean Smith, another veteran, was guiding us on the turkey hunt. I made good friends with Dave, and the following year, in 2017, Dave gave me a call and said, Pine Grove Programs is having a tribute to service fishing derby. Would you like to go? And I said, sure. So we registered, and we went to the Tribute to Service Fishing Derby, had a great day. I registered with the program. Subsequent to that, I registered for an upland game bird hunt, and I was teamed with an elderly veteran who was having difficulty walking, so he stayed on the tote roads, and I went into the brush as we chased the birds. Dan Albert was the dog handler, and his dog was Laser. Fantastic dog. We flushed 22 birds that hunt. Didn't shoot a single one. But watching the dog work with his handler was a tremendous experience. And like I said, that was the first time I had ever hunted game birds over dogs. I liked the philosophy of Pine Grove Programs, what Bob and Andrea and Wyatt were offering, so much that I volunteered to become a member of the board of directors, and I've been the outreach coordinator since. Some of the adventures I've had with the program, I got a chance to go black bear hunting over bait and was very successful in harvesting a bear. I went on the Allagash Wilderness canoe trip, and that was just spectacular. That was one of my bucket list items.
That for anybody watching, go to pinegroveprograms.org.
Yep.
And keep your eye out for that canoe trip, because it is a bucket list. Going down the Allagash is a bucket list event that we do every year.
And
Sorry.
So anyhow, the bottom line is I felt that I needed to give back. I was getting so much from the program. I got to do things that I never thought I would do. Bob called me one day and he said, Paul, would you like to go coyote hunting at night? And I said, well, I've never coyote hunted at night. What do I need to do? And he said, well, we'll put you out in the shack in the middle of the woods over a bait, and you'll kind of learn as you go. And so the first season, I hunted with one of my deer rifles and .308 Winchester, probably overpowered for hunting coyotes, and optical scope. And we were hunting over lighted baits. Now, as a pure novice hunting coyotes, I probably made every mistake you can make. And I'll give you an example. So you're out there, you go out, you get set up, you're nice and you're quiet, and you knock over your binoculars. Clonk!
Right.
Well, if there's a coyote nearby, it's not going to come in. They have propane heaters in the shacks. Well, if you light them up, then you're outside the shack, you look, you can tell it's lit up, someone's in there, coyotes aren't going to come in.
But the trick is to turn it, right? To turn the heater.
Even if you turn it, it lights
still
up.
Backlights.
One of the things that I did over the seasons is I developed techniques to be successful. And I like to hunt in a cold shack. I don't turn on the heat. A dark shack. I don't have a cell phone on. I don't have a flashlight on.
There's a medication for that condition, Paul.
Yeah.
Being cold.
Bottom line is I've been out there 20 below zero in a cold shack till 3 o'clock in the morning waiting on a coyote, and they still didn't come in. So the first 2 seasons, I invested probably 100 hours and hadn't got a coyote. And the 3rd season, I got a coyote, and that was kind of interesting because that year, in January, I went out, I set up about 3:30 in the afternoon in the shack, and Bob had a moose carcass and a deer carcass that looked out like goalposts on the snow, about 100 yards, in a shack we call the missing shack. And you have to understand that there's a lot of woods there, and you've got a fairly narrow channel going out to the bait. So I'm sitting there, and about 4:20 in the afternoon, it was very...
Which is pretty dark that time of year.
Well, it was an overcast day,
Yeah.
and it was getting gloomy, and legal daytime hunted ended about 4:50. So at 4:20, I see there's something dark in between the goalposts. So I take out my binoculars and I take a look, and lo and behold, there's this big bobcat there. Well, I'd never shot a bobcat before. And Bob had told me bobcats been coming in the bait. So I moved over to the rifle, and the bobcat presented a nice broadside, took the shot, dropped right there. So I was some excited. And I called Bob and I said, well, Bob, should I leave it there? I'm afraid if coyotes come in, they're going to mess with the bobcat. And he said, well, you do what you have to do, understanding that once you walk up to the bait, you're going to pooch that bait site for a few days. So I said, well, I'm going to get the bobcat. So I went in, I got the bobcat. It was a 33-pound female, which is a really large bobcat. A mature female bobcat averages about 24 pounds.
That's the size of a coyote.
Yeah.
As we're hearing, yeah.
And then the mature male would be about 34 pounds.
Wow.
So this was 1 pound under a mature male.
Wow.
And so I talked to Bob. I said, well, I want to get a full mount done of this bobcat. Who should I go to? And he says, well, John Soucy's probably the best cat guy in the state. So I called John up, and John said, well, I'm 2 years behind now, so I'm not taking any new ones. I said, well, who would you recommend? And he says, well, go to Sherm O'Brien over in Newport. So I went over, took it over to Sherm, and I researched a picture of the type of mount I wanted, and said, this is what I want done. And I asked him, I said, what's the typical bobcat you get? He says, on average, they weigh 17 pounds.
Wow.
Okay, so this was a really
You had
big
a gorilla.
cat. So anyhow, I hunted the rest of the season, and I typically hunt from January through the end of March. And we're getting toward the end of March, and I still hadn't harvested a coyote. Now, this is 3 years, and I was talking to Bob on a Friday, and he said, well, I put bait out on Clear Pond yesterday evening. And I said, well, I'll give it one more try, Bob, because I felt bad. He was doing all this work, and we weren't producing anything. So I get out on Clear Pond Shack, and the bait's about, 70 yards out, which is a bit close. And about, 7:10, 7:15 in the evening, I see this coyote coming in. This coyote just trotting right in, gets about 100 yards out and stops. Looks right at the shack, turns around and runs away about 50 yards. stops, looks back, and when it did, I took the shot. And of course, in the digital scope, I got this muzzle flash.
Right.
And when the muzzle flash cleared, I could see a lump on the snow. But with the day-night scopes, everything is gray and white. And so I couldn't clearly ascertain whether that was the coyote or whether it was just another one of those mounds of snow out there.
Sure.
So I'm sitting there and I said, well, I think I had a good shot. So I'm just going to sit and wait and see if anything else comes in.
And get cold.
The adrenaline was going. The adrenaline was going. So anyhow, I waited until 8:30, and I had told Bob that I wanted to come out at 9, and he had taken me in using the snow track, saving me a 40-minute snowshoe into the shack and a 40-minute snowshoe out. So anyhow, I buttoned up the shack, packed everything up in my sled, walked out, and sure enough, there was the coyote. It was 39-pound female, beautiful pelt. So that was the first coyote that I ever got. Took me 3 seasons, 200 hours of hunting. Okay? So this year, I started, this is my 4th season, and in 8 hours, I've already got 2 coyotes.
You got a system now.
The difference, there's a lot of things. 1, you learn from your mistakes. 2, I upgraded my equipment. So I got a Henry Long Ranger, which is a magazine-fed lever-action rifle. Now, there are those who will sit there and say, well, they like the AR or semi-automatic because they can take repeat shots. In my experience with the coyotes out here, you get one shot and they're gone. You don't have these in the Midwestern states where they're able to shoot at 400 yards and they have 5 or 6 coyotes coming in at a time. Maybe you can take multiple shots. Around here, you take a shot and you're so closed in the woods, they're gone. I bought a day-night scope, ATN X-Sight 4K day-night scope with an infrared illuminator. And that allowed me to hunt out there in total darkness. Didn't have to worry about the lights going out. Didn't have to worry about, it was supposed to be a clear full moon night and the clouds came in. All the things that happen. But it's funny. You'll be sitting in the shack and you're spending hours there. And as my daughter describes it, it's hours of quiet punctuated by 20 seconds of panic. But so anyhow, I've now got a bobcat and 3 coyotes that I've managed to get. I've got a black bear that I've got with the program. As the outreach coordinator, I do a lot of shared experiences. So I'll call up Bob, say, Bob, you got some veterans who want to go out on a turkey hunt. Bob, you got people who want to go out ice fishing. In fact, John Oliveira, who was in the first podcast, I took him out ice fishing and we taught him how to ice fish. And we taught him about things of, well, if you want to fish for lake trout, you got to be fishing on the bottom. If you want to fish for salmon, you want to be under the ice, and how to rig and set it up. He liked it so much, he bought all his gear and now he takes out veterans.
Right. And I think that's the beauty of the program is that we have this program where we have opportunities for veterans, first responders, and law enforcement to come in and do a planned event. But what's so organic about the program is when people have this new experience, they're going home and then they're doing the same thing with other veterans and other law enforcement officers. And so it's like a force multiplier, if you will, for the program. We don't track all of those events, but we know because we hear the stories about people who call us and let us know. But, it's as simple as, I have a couple neighbors that are veterans and they're a little bit older, and we have a boat on the lake and we'll just take them out a couple times a year and just putz around the lake. And it's a thrill for somebody to get out like that. So, what you've done is you've set that example, which has been really good. But you also do something else for the program with the sighting in.
Yeah. With the bear hunt, after the first bear hunt I did with the program, I volunteered to do a bear sight-in with the hunting groups. And the rationale for that is that when you travel from away and you bring a rifle and you can knock the sight out of register, often you have people who haven't sighted their rifles in. And what we want to avoid is wounding a bear and losing the bear, or as our guy Jeff will say, he says, the worst thing I have to do is go track a wounded bear after dark. So anyhow, we set up a program where on the first morning, we take them out to a site and we have a 100-yard target, measured target, and we have them zero their rifle in to make sure it's sighted in at 100 yards. I give an example. In every group of 3 or 4 hunters, I typically have one that is out of register. And the worst was 28 inches high at 100 yards. I had to put a 6-foot piece of cardboard up there just to get it on paper to find out where the bullet was going. And then after we do that, we do a clay target shoot, and we have a thrower that has a wobbler on it, everything else, and throws the clays all over the place. And for a lot of these guys, they've never shot trap, so this is a real treat. And it kills that dead time in that first morning, gets them to lunch, and then they go out in the afternoon in the first stand. So that works. I take people kayak fishing. I take them out turkey hunting. In fact, I took you out on your first turkey hunt.
Yes,
and
which we will not discuss.
Oh, I thought it was a great story.
No, I don't think so, Paul.
Maybe a story for another day.
A story for another day.
But one of the things that I stress as the outreach coordinator is I'll talk to veterans and sit there and say, do you like fishing? Do you like hunting? Do you have a skill set? And would you like to share it with other veterans? Not only may you share, but you may make a lifelong friend. And so an example, I met Dave on that turkey hunt.
Right.
And we became good friends, and we've turkey hunted and fished before, and he might even consider coming coyote hunting. So it's more than just taking people out and showing them something. You get a group of veterans together, and within 10 minutes, they establish a commonality, places they've been, people they've known. It's totally different from the civilian world.
It really is.
And that cohesiveness. When we were on the Allagash trip, and Tim was on the Allagash trip with me, we had a group of unknowns, all different people. We got together, a shared mission. We had a ball. It was just a fabulous, great time. And we were blessed. We had only one day that we had rain, and we were already in camp when that rain came in.
That was quite the thunderstorm, though.
Yeah. Well, unknown to us at the time, we were in a tornado watch.
Yeah.
And we had that storm come through, and that storm came through at about 35 miles an hour, and the rain was going this way.
Right.
And we were holding the top down, and we had all our tents up and everything. But by and large, we had great sunny days, not much wind, but we also had low water conditions, which means there were times we were hiking the Allagash. But the bottom line has been very rewarding to me. All the veterans I've met, the law enforcement officers, the ability to share my skills, and more importantly to me is I got to do so many things that I wouldn't even imagined that I would have done.
Right.
And that's because this program was available.
You also do the quarterly newsletter for Pine Grove programs. I encourage everybody watching, you can go to pinegroveprograms.org or drop us an email on maineknowshow@gmail.com. We can get you copies. We can put you on the list to get email copies of the newsletter. But Paul, you put that together 4 times a year, and it really outlines and gives stories of everything that we've done the prior 3-4 months.
What I try to do, in fact, I'm working on April's newsletter right now. And as different things occur, I get input from different people. I write some of the articles myself, put it all together. If you go out to our website, you can register. And if you register, we put you into the Constant Contact database. And then after that, you will get event notifications. You'll be told when the newsletter is distributed. It's a great resource. It's really important that we grow our numbers because we want to reach out to as many veterans, law enforcement, first responders as possible, rather than having the same old people come every single time. But we need you to sign up.
And we need you to support the program. And so there is a donate function on our website where you can make a donation to the program, because it's really the donations that make things happen. And Bob and Wyatt can make a dollar go a long way. And there's so much of what we do that is just somebody's time and effort. So we really do reach hundreds and hundreds of veterans, law enforcement, and first responders a year, really at a minimal cost. But Paul, we want to thank you. We want to thank you for everything that you do for the program, but we wanted to just thank you for being here and being a guest on this month's segment of Maine Knows How. We'll be back in a minute.
Maine Knows How is brought to you by Pine Grove Programs, supporting veterans, first responders, and law enforcement by providing free outdoor opportunities to those who serve, have served, and their families. And by Mainly Handrails, serving New England with custom metal fabrication since 2005. Catering to both residential and commercial, no job is too big or too small. Proud to be a Maine business employing Maine people, offering quality metal products made in the USA.
Welcome back to Maine Knows How. Our next segment is the How To segment of the show. And with that, I'll turn it over to Wyatt, and he can tell us how to do something.
Yeah. So this week's how-to is about ice fishing. And so an important part about ice fishing is depth control and finding the right area of the water column to put your bait at, specifically talking about tip-ups. And I think this week, or this episode's how-to is using either a button or a rubber band to mark your depth. And so what you can do is you get to a hole, you put the sounder on, you find the depth, and you set your depth, and then you move the button to that location, or you wrap a rubber band around it. So you marked that location. So now you bring it back up, you put your bait on. If a fish takes it, you don't have to resound the hole every time because that rubber band stays there. Another tip is to, if you have like some snow around, just write how deep it is in the snow. If you sound it and it's 15 feet deep, write 15 feet, and then put right below it how deep your bait is.
Right.
13 feet. So then you can come back, and then you can look at each individual tip up, and you can look at how deep it is and how deep you're running.
And that's so key, because we're allowed 5 traps in Maine.
Mm-hmm.
And when I go out, I don't know where the fish are going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll put 2 just below the ice.
Mm-hmm.
I'll put 2 down and 1 in between.
Right.
But I always forget which one is
Exactly.
which.
Exactly. So if you can mark him on the snow, then you're golden. Yep. So that's this episode's how-to. And I'm going to turn it over to my dad for this story of the episode.
Story of the day. Huh?
Story
of the episode.
Oh, the day.
All right. Well, this goes back to pike fishing, ice fishing. And we had a bunch of us veterans pike fishing. We went out and drilled a bunch of holes and put our traps in, and we're sitting there, and flag went up. Guy runs over, boy, and he starts hollering because he feels something heavy. And he sets the hook, and this thing takes off. and this line's burning lines,
They
burning.
scream.
They're screaming,
They're
right?
screaming.
Then one of the guys with him said, "Hey, flag over there!" So he ran over there. Got that one there. That's the same thing. And they're both hollering and carrying on. And this guy says, "I got him coming." No, he's pulling line. He's going back and forth. Well, what happened? They had crossed like this.
So two separate pike?
Two separate pike, and the lines had crossed. And this guy's pulling this one, and that one's hollering even more. So he'd let his go, and he'd say, I'm gaining. This went back and forth. For quite a period of time till they figured out that.
The yin and the yang.
Right. Yeah. So it was pretty funny. We eventually got one up. And then the other guy said, well, part of that fish is mine. I caught half of it. And so, when you fish for pike, you want to make sure you spread these out a long ways because they make such a long run that first.
Did you have the metal leaders and everything with it too?
Some they do. Sometimes I don't use metal leaders.
Right.
I'd rather have him break off and get him on than not ever having him on. Any predator can see really, really good.
Right.
And so I'll use a little short leader, but not too big. I like them hooks sticky sharp, so they just touch, because his mouth is all bone.
Right.
So that was the story, and it was pretty funny.
Right. I'll tell you, the pike,
Mm.
if you've not caught a pike, it's different from catching anything else out there on our lakes. And my little pike story was I had a nice sweet spot, and I was catching splake. I'd catch 2 splake, and I'd take them up to the smoker, and I'd smoke them and have them for dinner.
Yeah.
And then one day, I had never caught a pike, not geared for it or anything like that, and I went down, and my reel was smoking in the water.
Yep.
And I, in my head, had visions of world record splake.
Yeah.
And when I pulled that thing up, I was shocked, and I fell back, and I'm holding it, and I could see the hook breaking.
Oh, boy.
And it broke, and it started to slide down.
Yep.
And I don't like pike going back into the lake because they eat all my trout. So I dove into the hole and pulled this thing up. It was flopping all over me.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm out there by myself, so I think I'm on candid camera.
Right.
With somebody filming it, right? But we got it. We kept it on shore and fed it to the eagles, and they were thankful.
Well, you should try eating them. They are excellent.
I know you say that.
They are excellent.
5 fillets.
5 fillets.
Yeah, because 2 from the back side of the tail, and then 1 on each side and 1 on the top.
Now, Bob, you've also said that if you're going to do that, you should kill it immediately.
Kill it, yeah.
Because the sliminess won't occur.
Yeah, and there's ways to get rid of that sliminess, and I'll share that with you some other time, how to eliminate all that.
Okay.
Okay, and there's a filleting trick to these, but they are solid white, snow white meat, and they are really good.
I don't know, Bob. You're going to have to prove that one to me. I've heard stories about, cooking them on cedar planks and throwing the meat out and eating the plank.
You were talking about a trout.
No.
No,
all right, Bob.
Anyway.
Thanks for the story. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Maine Knows How is brought to you by J.W. Parks Golf Course in Pittsfield, a 9-hole facility with a full-service pro shop and driving range offering daily fee golf and membership opportunities. And by A&G Shooting, a brick-and-mortar gun shop offering firearms training and 100% customer satisfaction. And by Digital Spirit Media, providing over 30 years of technical expertise in media production and event production services.
Okay, welcome back to Maine Knows How. Just want to remind everybody to subscribe and like us. Let us know how we're doing. You can do it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, YouTube. If you have questions for us, reach us at maineknowshow@gmail.com, and you can check us out on our website at maineknowshow.com. Let us know your thoughts. Give us your feedback. And for those of you that have really good questions, there just might be a prize in it for you. But we want to thank you for joining us for this month's segment, and we'll get back to you real soon. But until then, keep in the outdoors and enjoy Mother Nature. Thanks.
Maine Knows How. Brought to you by A&G Shooting, Modern Woodmen of America, Mainly Handrails, Pine Grove Programs, and J.W. Parks Golf Course. Digital Spirit Media. Maine Knows How.